Good morning. I hope you're doing okay. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. We are today going to start building this fantastic Morris chair, designed by William Morris in the 1800s. It's all constructed out of 3/4 stock that you can purchase on the regular box store. You don't have to go to a specialized store and might not be near your house to build this chair. So, except for the legs, I laminated two boards, two 3/4 boards together to form 1.5 by 1.5 inches. The rest of the chair is just regular stock, and you can mill it down to whatever dimensions you need to. We're going to start building. I'm going to be releasing this. Hold on a second. I'm going to start be releasing this video a few installments because it might be too long for one sitting. So there we go. We're going to release today the first video of the building this chair. We're going to start building the legs, and we go from there. Shall we start? Let's go. Now we have these two legs right here. There's 4 legs, I should say. This will be, I marked them so I don't make a mistake when I cut the mortises. This is the fronts, and this will be the rears. Okay? So that way I marked it. You see it being glued together. In some places you can see the line between the two. It's a little bit tone difference, but it came out of the same board. The same 2 boards, I should say. You can see it here. All pieces. It's 1.5 by 1.5. So that way now I have to cut the mortises for the stretches, and I'm gonna be marking it. So I have a sketch to follow. So that way, all this stuff I'll be showing you all this. Adapter to my drill press to cut these mortises, the square hole in these mortises. Not really bad, but it's not as smooth as it will go on the rattle table. And the height of the bit, I'm going to lower it down. Then I'm going to set it flush to the table. Oops. Okay, now it's flush to the table. I marked the 0. Now I have to go up 7/16 of an inch. For that I'm going to slow the motor up. Too slow. 3/16, 7/16, right there. Now what am I going to do? It's 7/16. That's the maximum height I will be able to take. Now what am I going to do? I will set the maximum height there. When the light goes up, that means the machine is not going to go any higher than that. So what I'm going to do is going to lower it down. Okay, now it's below the. Now you can see one of the stop is this right here, and the other stop is this clamp. I had to put an extension on here so I can reach where the stop doesn't reach. So I put that. That looks like a nice feather board anyway, so it helps. I put my board out there. I gotta make sure that I know where the okay, we're going to start out there. This is the start of the cut. So that way I'm going to start the machine up. Now, look at the difference in here. Look at the difference on the cut between the mortiser, dedicated mortiser, and the cut with it. Yeah, they leave you a little round edges, but the difference is the accuracy of the cut. Now I'm going to be cutting the shoulder, top shoulder for the top mortise on the chair. I'm going to have to have mortise right here. So I moved my fence to 7/8, and because it's not a through cut, I can have my fence right in this. So I'm not going to be able to wedge it out there or something. So I lift my my blade just enough, a 1/4 of an inch. Now to cut the cheeks on this tenon, on the top of the legs, I'm going to use my 10-9 homemade jig, trusty, to cut on the vertical. As you can see, we got a square tenon at the end of each leg this way. This tenon is going to have to go through the armrest. Okay, now I cut the cheeks on the stretcher. Okay, now that we cut the tenon, we got the cheeks and we have the shoulders, we need one more cut, and that would require to lift the blade a little bit. Okay, we're supposed to lift a 1/4 of an inch, to lift a 1/4 of an inch shoulder out here. So I lift the blade. Just to a 1/4 of an inch. Okay, now we're ready with the same depth as this. And we cut. So now we have, this is the rear stretcher. We have completed the rear stretcher. We have the tenons and a perfect size, a perfect machining. We don't have no splinters, we don't have no cracks, we don't have anything that would alter. But perfect. Excellent work. Now we're going to have to do the front. The front one is a little bit narrower. So I'm going to have to rip this to a proper width. So we got to set up for that. Now I'm creating the mortise for this side rail. So I created the mortises for the slots on the side of the chair, on the side rails. I made a template to cut the armrest. Now the template needs to be able to flip it, and because it's supposed to be a mirror image, the same armrest I cannot cut it on the same side. So I had to be able to flip it on the other side, and that way I have a left and a right armrest. Okay, now I set up my drill press with the mortising adapter, so I can start mortising for the little slots here on the armrest. I have to set up the maximum depth already set up, so I cannot go through it. I don't want to go through it. A 1/4 inch square chisel, and now we start doing the cut. I do both ends first to make sure I'm not going to overshoot it. That's one end. That's the other end. Now I can start doing successful plunges to cover the width of the mortise. Now that I've cut all the mortises for the slots, I had to cut the front and back mortises for the post, the leg post. And I need to cut a square 1 by 1 by 1. You know, the biggest chisel I have is 5/8, so I had to put a spacer behind it and cut the back side and then remove the spacer that got the front side. The post. Make sure I orient it the right way, and I tried it here. What it needs to be done, I need to file a little bit on this direction. I have to make sure I don't drag the rasp back, otherwise it will have blow up on the outside, and I don't want to do that. Just a little more. I don't want to go over. So there we go. Perfect. Perfect fit. What we have to do now, I need to cut this chamfer out of the armrest. And I put the two bolts together on a bench vise, and I'm going to plane it so both are exactly the same. Now that both tapers are exactly the same, I am ready to move to the slots. Now I'm going to run this on the joiner where I just smooth the wood, because I had a rasp cut with the saw, the bandsaw. So I'm going to smooth out all the handrails. Okay, once I plane the board that I'm going to make the slab from, I'm going to rip it in half. I already cut a little bit and measure it, and it's perfect. So now I'm going to rip it in half. Once I rip it in half, I'm going to use my sled to cut it at 12 inches. Actually, I need it at 11 3/4, but I'm going to cut it at 12 inches so I can play with it. Okay, now with my sled, I'm going to cut this material in half. So I'm going to split the line. Since I cut it a little bit longer, I'm going to split the line, and that will be easier if I cut it in half than try to handle that long piece. Okay, I'm going to keep on split the lines. Okay, now that I have all my laths a little bit cut it a little bit wider than longer than I needed it. So what I do is I just line them all up, perfectly aligned from one end, and I measure to the cut 11 3/4 inches. 11 3/4 inches. 11 3/4 inches exactly, and I cut all the. So by cutting all the laths exactly the same size, I'm assured I'm not going to have gaps at the mortise. So everything, all the side runners, the rails, and the armrest is going to be exactly the distance, and all of these are going to be perfect, and it's no eliminating the gaps on top and bottom. Now, these are going to be the slots that go on the sides. So I'm cutting the cheeks of the mortise that will go into the side rail and into the bottom of the armrest. So after there's 12 of those slots that I need to cut the mortise on it, on both sides. Right now I cut the cheeks, so we're going to continue until I do all my 12s. Now that we cut the cheeks, we cut the shoulders. Got the shoulder, and we're going to continue till we get all 12 of them done. Now I put a 1/4 inch round out bit, and I'm going to just round out the edges and all these legs so it won't be too short. Now I'm preparing the front and rear stretchers. The rear one is a little bit wider, and I'm going to start cutting the mortises. And I mean the tenon. Just got the cheeks on the tenon. Now we are going to cut on the shoulder.